Everyone thinks the desert gives up its secrets slowly. They are wrong. The Libyan desert is a vast, unforgiving canvas, stretching for hundreds of miles, a sea of sand and rock where life struggles to find purchase. It's a place where time seems to slow, where the elements relentlessly sculpt the landscape, and where secrets can lie buried for decades, waiting for the right moment to re-emerge. In 1959, a British oil exploration team was working deep within this desolate expanse, their heavy equipment kicking up dust under the relentless sun. What they stumbled upon, however, wasn't oil. It was a perfectly preserved B-24D Liberator bomber sitting silently on the sand, almost as if it had just landed. This wasn't just any wreckage. It was a ghost. Dubbed the Lady Be Good, its discovery sparked an immediate international sensation. How could such a massive aircraft simply vanish, only to reappear decades later, thousands of miles off course, its crew nowhere to be found? The story begins much earlier, on April 4, 1943. 8 young men, part of the 376th Bomb Group, 514th Bomb Squadron, took off from Salyuch Airfield, Libya, for their first combat mission. Their target, the heavily defended port of Naples, Italy. Aboard the Lady Be Good were 9 crewmen. Pilot LT William Hatton, co-pilot LT Robert Toner, navigator LT D.P. Hayes, bombardier LT John Warefka, flight engineer tech, SGT Harold Ripslinger, radio operator tech, SGT. Robert Lamotte, gunner staff SGT. Guy Shelley, gunner staff SGT. Vernon Moore, and assistant engineer staff SGT. Samuel Adams. The mission was a long one, over 500 miles round trip. They successfully bombed Naples, but the return journey was plagued by severe sandstorms. Visibility dropped to near zero, and the formation quickly broke apart. The Lady Be Good was alone, flying blind. At 12 a.m. on April 5th, the crew radioed their base, reporting engine trouble and asking for a position fix. They received one: proceed to base. A simple instruction, yet one that would prove tragically elusive. The plane never arrived. Search and rescue operations were launched immediately, covering vast swaths of the desert and the Mediterranean. For days, other aircraft scoured the region but found nothing. The Lady Be Good and its crew had vanished, swallowed by the desert and the sea. The crew was officially declared missing in action on April 12, 1943. Their families received the dreaded telegrams, and the world moved on, another casualty of a global war. But the desert, as we know, has its own timetable for revealing truths. 16 years later, the ghost emerged. The oil exploration team discovered the bomber 400 miles inland, deep in the Libyan desert, 440 miles southeast of its home base in Salyuch. Its desert landing was almost perfect, with only the nose wheel damaged. The aircraft's condition was astonishing. Its machine guns were still loaded, the radio was functional, and even the emergency rations and water were intact. It was a time capsule, meticulously preserved by the dry desert air. But the crew was gone. The most chilling detail: 8 parachutes were missing. This indicated the crew had bailed out. But where? And why was the plane found so far from any expected bailout zone? The mystery deepened. A massive search operation, Operation Climax, was launched. The desert was systematically combed, using ground teams and aircraft. For months, they scoured the sands, looking for any sign of the missing airmen. Then, in February 1960, a grim discovery was made. 5 bodies were found, huddled together, 80 miles north of the Lady Be Good. Their logbook, found nearby, told a harrowing tale. After bailing out, they had believed they were over the Mediterranean and had begun walking east, towards what they thought was civilization. They walked for 8 days, covering over 85 miles under the brutal desert sun, with minimal water. Their last entry, dated April 12th, read, "No hope of rescue, still walking," a testament to their incredible will to survive. Further searches uncovered 3 more bodies over the next few months, scattered along the same path. They had succumbed to dehydration and exhaustion. But one crewman, staff SGT, Guy Shelley, the tail gunner, was still missing. His remains were finally located in August 1960, 15 miles from the initial group, having tried to strike out on his own. All 8 crew members who had bailed out were accounted for, but the 9th, Bombardier John Warefka, was not among them. Warefka's body was never found. It's believed he might have become separated during the bailout, or perhaps his parachute failed. His fate remains the final, haunting question mark in the Lady Be Good saga. So what went wrong? The prevailing theory suggests a critical navigational error. Believing they were over the sea, LT Hayes, the navigator, likely guided the plane inland, away from the coast, searching for land that was already beneath them. The sandstorm, coupled with an unreliable direction-finding system, made matters worse. When the fuel ran critically low, LT Hatton ordered the bailout, unaware they were over the most desolate part of the Libyan desert, not the Mediterranean. The Lady Be Good continued on autopilot for another 16 miles after the crew jumped, before running out of fuel and making its eerily perfect landing. It was a phantom plane, carrying nothing but the echoes of a desperate decision. The story of the Lady Be Good is a stark reminder of the unforgiving nature of war and the desert. It's a tale of human endurance against impossible odds, and a tragic testament to how quickly a mission can turn into a desperate struggle for survival. Today, parts of the Lady Be Good are preserved in museums, a tangible link to a bygone era and a poignant symbol of a mystery solved, save for one man. The desert, in its own time, revealed its secrets, but not without exacting a heavy toll. What other ghost stories does history hold, waiting to be unearthed?